We are joined now by NewsNation senior contributor George Will. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. We'll start with this debate in Pennsylvania. It's highly anticipated. Do you think the issues impacting voters like the economy and abortion will be center stage, or will those topics be overshadowed by Fetterman's health concerns and Dr. Oz's quote-unquote celebrity status?
It's going to be a very delicate kind of debate because people will be watching not to hear what Mr. Fetterman says, but whether he can say whatever he wants to say clearly. And the big issue is eclipsing even inflation is going to be crime, because Mr. Fetterman has said repeatedly that you could release 1/3 of the prisoners in Pennsylvania's prisons and not make the state any less safe. He's disputed whether that's still his view or not, but that too will come up. So we're going to get the range of issues plus the health problem, and it's going to be therefore a complicated debate.
Well, this state is so interesting. As you know, it could decide the balance of power in the Senate. 2016, former President Trump took the state red by a 0.72% margin. Then 2020, Biden narrowly reclaimed it by a 1.17% margin. So what are the issues in this state that keep voters neck and neck?
It's a closely divided state, which makes it like the nation itself. It's been famously said of Pennsylvania that it's Pittsburgh in the west and Philadelphia in the east, but Alabama in between. You have a large rural component, very conservative. So you have Dr. Oz is the choice of Donald Trump. Bernie Sanders is the lodestar for Mr. Fetterman, who described himself as a Sanders Democrat. So you've got Trump versus Sanders in a way, which represents the extremes of American political polarization.
And I thought this was really interesting. Fetterman's campaign sending out a memo to reporters Monday, seemingly looking to lower expectations ahead of this debate, saying this isn't John's format. And Oz clearly comes into Tuesday night with a huge built-in advantage. So what are your thoughts on that move?
Well, I think they don't really need to work hard to lower expectations, because if Mr. Fetterman does at all well, if he is fluent, if he can process the back and forth, people are going to say, well, what's the excitement about here? This man can certainly be a senator. A senator does live in a rhetorical environment. It's debates, it is negotiations, it is committee hearings. So the verbal side of being a senator is large, but it should be possible, I think, for Mr. Fetterman to pass the fairly low threshold of competence there.
Who do you believe will win this debate? If Fetterman comes out and appears coherent, do you believe that would be enough to push him over the finish line? Or what factors do you believe will have one candidate win over the other?
You know, Pennsylvanians have been voting for more than a month now. So this debate comes after millions of votes have already been cast in Pennsylvania. And it's not clear to me, even among those who have not already voted, how many are truly undecided at this point in the campaign. This midterm election, coast to coast, has been dominating news coverage for a very long time. And my feeling is that maybe 5% of the voters are still undecided. So I really doubt that this event tonight, interesting though it's going to be, is apt to be decisive. On the other hand, 5% of the vote in a closely divided state like Pennsylvania can be decisive.
Interesting. Well, you can tell the Democratic Party knows how important this race is. President Biden made one of his few campaign stumps there with Fetterman, and now we know both he and former President Obama will be back in Pennsylvania on November 5th. We have about 30 seconds, but is this the Dems' Hail Mary to keep hold of the Senate?
It certainly is. This is two men running for an open seat that's being vacated by Pat Toomey, a Republican who's retiring. The Republicans only need to gain one seat to capture the Senate, but they have to hold all they've had. So if they lose Pennsylvania, they're going to have to gain 2 seats. And the map is getting pretty small for those opportunities for Republican pickups.
All right, George Will, we appreciate your insight as always. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.